In this paper we'll explore Lanchester's equations in relation to a simple fire and maneuver war game, including the concept of fighting strength as a battle outcome predictor. Lanchester's classic aimed fire model describes combat between red and blue forces in a battle of annihilation, which follows a differential equation. The solution to these equations leads to the concept of fighting strength, the product of its fighting efficiency or kill rate and the square of its numbers. This is Lanchester's famous square law. If we assume that the product of red fighting efficiency and the initial number of red forces n squared is greater than the product of blue fighting efficiency and the initial number of blue forces n squared, then the fighting efficiency favors the red force and the blue will be annihilated, and the number of red survivors from the battle can be calculated. If we assume that the fighting strengths between red and blue match, we can solve this equation to determine the number of red forces needed to match blue's fighting strength if we know the red and blue's fighting efficiency and the initial number of blue forces. Likewise, we can solve to match the fighting strengths between red and blue to determine the red force fighting efficiency needed to match blue's fighting strength if we know the red and blue's initial number of forces and the blue force fighting efficiency. We will use these relationships later in the talk. Lanchester's equations suggest that the fighting strength of two opposing forces indicate the outcome of the battle before it takes place. The side with the greater fighting strength being able to eliminate its rival should it stand and fight to the end. It is possible to devise a table of strategies with best options for a red force attacking a blue force, based on their relative fighting strengths. The suggested battle strategies are described in the paper and include:
Vernichtungsschlacht,
a battle of annihilation. Move immediately to optimal firing range and destroy the opposing force. Tactics of concentration. Divide the opponent's forces into smaller groups so that the attacking force has greater fighting strength in each battle against the smaller groups of defending forces, destroying them in turn. We now test the theory out using a simple maneuver and fire wargame with a sci-fi twist, called Mobius Mayhem. The map represents a space station that is a Mobius strip, a continuous featureless surface from which escape is not possible and which players representing red and blue forces of Space Marines seek to control. These forces are armed with direct fire weapons, with unlimited ammunition and whose probability of hitting an opponent increases as the range decreases. The game is available free from Wargames Vault using the following link. The rules are also shown and described in the following YouTube support channel. Players use a fixed turn sequence. The sequence of plays move, then fire. Units that move cannot fire. They may move up to 5 hexes per turn and can pass through tunnels in the surface that act as jump cuts allowing rapid movement. Units that fire cannot move, and a clear line of sight is needed to fire. To hit and eliminate an enemy with regular quality troops, count the distance in hexes, and roll a 1d6. The score must match or exceed the range in hexes, with 6 hexes maximum range. Poor troop quality has a -1 modifier applied to all 1d6 throws. Good troop quality has a +1 modifier applied to all 1d6 throws. Given no retreat is possible from the playing surface with no terrain blocking, the game is played as a
Vernichtungsschlacht,
battle of annihilation, until one side is eliminated. It has aspects of chess play, namely an opening, advance to contact, leading to a middle game where exchange of pieces occurs, and finally an endgame where the winning side closes down and eliminates the losing side. Given the probability is related to distance in hexes to a target and subject to modifiers, the probability of hitting in the game for good quality troops with a +1 modifier is shown highlighted. For average quality troops, no modifier is present and the probability of hitting is highlighted. Likewise, for poor quality troops with a -1 modifier, the probability of hitting is highlighted. Note there is no chance for poor quality troops hitting at a range of 6 hexes. Based on the probability outcomes for success in combat in the game with ranges in hexes from 1 to 6, we can define the fighting strength for a series of different troop levels, 10, 12, 14, 16, and 20 units, and quality, good, average and poor. For example, the probability with range in hexes in the middle row in the highlighted table when multiplied by the square of the numbers of troops in the left-hand column gives the fighting strengths at different ranges for average quality troops. Likewise, we can construct similar tables for poor and good quality troops. Note that mutual fire exchange combat can only occur at a range of 5 hexes or less. If we have 10 good quality troops firing at 5 hexes, the fighting strength is 50.0. For 17 poor quality troops firing at 5 hexes, the fighting strength is 48.2, which is close to the 10 good quality troops value. Solving exactly using the equation given the known probabilities would require 17.3 troops, which isn't possible at this scale. Thus we might expect that having 20 troops or more of poor quality could defeat 10 good quality troops in a firefight at 5 hexes, but this depends on how they are deployed. If a 3-wave attack of 7 poor quality units attack the 10 good quality troops, the fighting strengths indicate that red should lose, and this is what is seen. Note however that despite losing all troops, the 3 waves of red reduced the number of good quality blue troops, which in turn steadily reduced their fighting strength, so multiple wave attacks will eventually succeed, but at high cost to red. If a single wave attack of 21 poor quality units attack the 10 good quality troops, the fighting strengths indicate that red should win if blue chooses to stand and fight, and this is what is seen. Again, red suffers casualties in the combat. In this table we compare a 3-wave, 2-wave and single-wave attack by red with 21 poor quality units against blue with 10 good quality units. The outcomes and the final number of surviving troops are in line with Lanchester's equations, despite the game being sequential, leading to salvo fire and stochastic from dice rolling, rather than deterministic. For all other battles in the study, the attack is conducted by red in one wave. We demonstrated in an earlier publication the utility of using experimental design when examining wargames. In this case it was the simple fire and maneuver infantry primer, Take That Hill. We now apply experimental design to Mobius Mayhem. The blue defender is comprised of 10 good quality troops. The red attacker would require 14 average quality troops to match the fighting strength of the blue force at maximum firing range. We choose 2 red forces that are 12 or 16 strong, thus straddling the saddle point where fighting strengths match between the 2 forces. Please force numbers should check whether the saddle point of matched fighting strengths is real, with the red force at lower numbers expected to lose, and the force at higher numbers expected to win. To further test the theory, we add in tactical considerations into the red attacking forces. The basic matrix for 5 independent variables set at low, -1, and high, +1, values, with 8 experimental runs is shown in the following table. Examples in the matrix are run 5, where blue beats red as expected with 3 survivors. Red attacks using maneuver and fire, closing to max range attacking flank or weakest group using trapdoors with 12 units but to no avail. In run 11, red attacks at maximum range, attacking the nearest group, then retires, regroups and repeats the attack but does not using trapdoors with a force of 16 units. It overwhelms blue. Best subsets regression of the final table of results show that the number of blue and red survivors correlates to the initial force levels, variable E, which supports the fighting strength analysis. It does not relate to any other tactical consideration. The time for the battles to be completed does relates to all variables, so tactics affect the time but not the predicted outcomes. We now repeat the experimental design with different red troop numbers and quality. The blue defender is composed of 10 good quality troops. The red attacker would require 17 poor quality troops to match the fighting strength of the blue force at a maximum firing range of 5 hexes. We choose 2 red forces that are 16 or 20 strong, thus straddling the saddle point where fighting strengths match between the two forces. These force numbers should confirm whether the saddle point of matched fighting strengths is real, with the red force at lower numbers expected to lose, and the force at higher numbers expected to win. We repeat the tactical considerations into the red attacking forces used previously. Thus we should expect at each point in the design the same outcome as before. Examples in the matrix are run 13, where blue beats red as expected with 3 survivors. And run 19, where we expect red to beat blue as before. However, this is not what we see. In this case blue beats red. Why is this so? The answer lies in the 1d6 rolls used in the game. We define the number of faces, F, on a 1d6 that yields the desired outcome for a hit. In run 19 initially 15 dice were rolled by red, without a single hit on blue. This can be expected about 6% of the time. The lack of casualties on blue is telling, for in their first fire exchange they hit 5 red, and in subsequent turns the balance of numbers and better efficiency for blue ensures red's annihilation. The final results table for the design shows this was the only result of the 16 in both trials that didn't go as expected. Best subsets regression of the final table of results show that the number of blue and red survivors correlates to the initial force levels, which supports the fighting strength analysis, but other tactical considerations also appear correlated. The time for the battles to be completed relates to all variables.